Okay, so as I was saying before, in the call today, I want to get through this as quickly as possible and like get to the open space so you guys can ask questions and we can open it up for discussion. But these are the main points. The mission, which I've already briefly touched upon, reflecting on 2024. We'll look ahead to some upcoming events, and then we'll take a bit of time to think about what the DAO looks like in its current form, what's the structure and the focus going into 2025, and then the most important part, like this Q&A and discussion. Um, so we'll just whiz through these slides here. The first two I've already kind of covered were highlighting community, all about building regenerative network states. And one of the themes that we talk a lot about and we focus a lot on is regenerative living. And this slide is in there just as a reminder and an introduction for those that are new to this concept. Like, what do we mean by regenerative living? By regenerative living, we mean using technology in a way that is in partnership with nature, rather than trying to dominate nature or to fight nature or get into war with nature. We're actually partnering with nature and partnering with natural systems to provide nutrient dense food, clean water, and renewable energy. These aspects are the foundation of sovereignty, which underpins regenerative network states. Also touched upon this, so we can move past this. One thing I mentioned while you dropped off, Ben, is that we can drop the link for the 2024 report in the chat for those people that want to kind of look at these concepts in more detail and also look a bit at these metrics that we're about to go through. So the slides that I'm about to show you guys are taken from the report, so I'm not going to dwell on them too long and kind of bore you with the details. You can do that on your own time, but we'll briefly go through these. So what did we achieve within the community in 2024? Main point here is that we reached 770 plus members. Other important metric, 68 events in total. Super proud that we achieved that as a community last year. And on the contributor side as well, like there have been a very high number of people looking to get involved as contributors. 135 people have applied. And going back to that piece around like this being a highly aligned community, we have this process in place where everyone that applies is invited to a call. So we have a one-to-one call to kind of get to know them and decide like where they would like to contribute. And we found that that's really acted as a kind of natural filter to find the people that are really interested in getting involved. And so far, 75 people have gone through that process of applying and becoming contributors. And out of that, we've got 22 people that are super active. And I expect that those numbers to continue to rise throughout the course of 2025. So looking back to the events that we had last year, which was really, I would say, like it was like the core of our flywheel, of the flywheel of our growth, was these events that we had. When we launched, we tried to, and we achieved this set to have one event per week online. We had our community call, also our X spaces, community voices, and lunch and learn. So it's one different type of event per week. And a few highlights. The event that we did with Kevin was super interesting. The recording of that is on YouTube. If you want to find out more about like themes in there, we're talking about the meta crisis, regenerative living, and also how network states fit into that. There's a ton of stuff on our YouTube if you're interested in going back and like looking over the events we held last year, all the recordings are on there, and I think as we grow as a community, that resource is going to become really valuable. We also had a number of in-person meetups, and these meetups are designed as a way of supporting people within the DAO to start kind of forming local hubs within their area. So we have a budget aside for people that want to host meetups, and they put in a request to the DAO. And a few examples of successful meetups we had last year were I had one in Boulder, one in Munich, also one in Bangalore. I think I saw Olivia in here as well, right? Is she still here? I think Olivia just hosted a meetup last week in Peru. Um, so I expect to see this continue as the year goes on, and this is going to become the foundation of our kind of growth as a in real life DAO and community. And alongside the local meetups, which I would say like are mostly focused on social events. Alongside this, we have larger events which are more focused on like raising awareness, bringing people together, introducing topics that are related to network states and regenerative living. We focused really heavily on the Web3 conference circuit. So we did an event with building network states, ECC. Then we had a social event in Singapore. And finally, we held a really successful villa at DevCon, which I know a few of you managed to make it along to. And we've got quite a bit of information about that on our Twitter if you weren't there. There's a video of that villa. And I think what I would say is like these last year it was kind of a test. We were testing out and experimenting to see like, are people even interested in this stuff? Like, do people want to come along? Like, this is a crypto world. Do they want to come along and be closer to nature and chat about regenerative living? And it turns out that like they do. So that's good. That's good news. Looking forward to 2025. Like, we've really found a community, and I think we'll just see these events go from strength to strength this year. So very briefly, upcoming events, we've got P2P learning sessions coming up. All the information about this is on our Luma calendar, which I would encourage you guys to subscribe to if you haven't already. And also we regularly post about this stuff on Twitter or X as much as possible to get the word out. Upcoming in-person events, we've got a community meetup at Vida Verde coming up on January 18th. I think I saw someone here from Vida Verde, right, Ben?
Yeah, there's a couple of people I think that are from the Vida Verde.
Does anyone want to briefly show that event for the community?
I'm gonna jump in for the guys because I've been coaching the guys there in Venezuela. They are not English speakers, so that's the reason why I'm jumping in. And particularly Vida Verde is a permaculture community that is in the surroundings of Caracas, Venezuela. And the guys have been working, organizing meetups, bringing up community, teaching them about different regenerative permaculture practices on their own meanings. And now they are receiving this push from the DAO to go further. And this meetup in particular is gonna be about gray water system, how to build natural filters in order how to use the plant's aerobics and aerobic processes to use water that is coming from sinks or from showers and so on, and bring it back to the land, maybe for watering trees, watering the gardens, etc. If I miss something, guys, please put it even in Spanish there in the chat, and I can translate it for you.
Thanks a lot, man.
I'm not sure, guys, if this is there is some online things that you guys are planning for it, or if it's going to be completely on-site event. Sorry, le estoy hablando en I'm speaking English to them. I'm gonna switch to Spanish there for a second. Chicos, si hay alguna cosa, les estaba preguntando si va a haber algo online en el evento o si va a ser completamente en el sitio. Let's assume it's gonna be just on site.
Yeah.
So back to you, Chris.
Cool. Thanks a lot, man. Yeah, we can drop the link for that as well in the chat, and it's also on Twitter. And then looking ahead to February, we've got East Denver coming up. We are definitely going to do something at East Denver. We're still pulling together the final kind of ideas around that and deciding which is best, but it'll be more likely than not, there'll be some gathering place, possibly a hacker house where we can get together and also exploring other possibilities, and more information will be coming out about that very soon. We can also chat about that a bit later if anyone has any ideas what they would like to see at East Denver. Cool. So before we move on to the discussion, I just wanted to share this current kind of map of the DAO as it currently stands, and just share the structure with you. The DAO is there's two kind of main organizational units in the DAO. One is circles and the other is pods. Circles are kind of themes or areas within the DAO. We've got an in real life ecosystem circle, so that's a circle that's focusing on lots of in real life events and experiences. And we've got an online community circle and a governance circle. So these are the three main organizational units within the DAO. When people become contributors, they can join a circle, and those circles are not limited in size. So people can join those and get involved if there's meetings happening around those broad themes. Then the other structure we have in the DAO in terms of organization are pods. The pods are limited in size to around 8, maximum 10 people, and these are really like focused work streams or kind of focused teams and groups within the DAO, addressing specific areas of need. So we have, at the moment, we've got a pod looking at autonomous regenerative properties. That's going to become a very big theme moving into 2025. We did a couple of workshops. I know Kevin is here in the chat, and so back at DevCon, Kevin put on 3 days of workshops, which were really there was a lot of excitement and interest and enthusiasm in that particular topic. And this pod is designed to explore how we can bring those autonomous regenerative properties bring them to life and take them from conceptual ideas into actual actually build them, basically. So that's going to become a big focus for 2025. Then obviously we've got our in real life events pod, focusing on these in real life events like DevCon, Denver. That's quite an active group. Then on the online side, we've got our content pod, which Ben is leading, and there we've got like our X content, any other content that we put out, like our newsletter. We're also thinking about a blog for 2025. And closely related to that, we've got just general DAO operations like community management, managing the Discord, moderation, and things like that. Then briefly in the governance circle, this is a new addition for 2025, and we're still in the process of setting this up. We've got a pod focused on developing a white paper, which is going to be thinking about and bringing together ideas around governance. Like how do we decentralize this DAO and move towards an on-chain kind of governance and decision making protocol and process. Then we have a group working on a project called VPass, which is around identity and essentially enabling people to, if they attend our events or they are engaging in some of the experiences that are on offer, they can collect badges and track their progress with that. That's coming this year. And then finally, linked into the kind of white paper, we're going to think more about how to bring grants and fundraise within the DAO so that we can kind of progress with decentralization. So that's the current structure of the DAO. And alongside this, kind of following on from the local meetups, we have local V hubs that are kind of slowly starting to form. So we've got a group in New York, New Jersey. There's an active group in Uruguay. Then we've got the Bay Area group, Munich, Vancouver, and Bangalore. And in 2025, we'll see these groups start to take shape and more hopefully come into play as well. Very briefly, like linked in with decentralization, we're going to be thinking more about products within the DAO in 2025 as ways of generating a kind of treasury and kind of decentralizing the DAO essentially. And four different areas that we're kind of thinking about that are related to our mission and vision. One, deepen and token incentives. Two, DAO tooling. Three, real world assets. And four is like nature and tech immersive experiences and events. These categories or buckets are like potential revenue streams for the DAO that we'll start to think more seriously about going into 2025. Cool. So that's all I had to share with you guys. I really want to open up the floor, and if anyone has any questions or if there's anything that I've shared that you want me to, or you want to double click on or like open up as a community discussion, feel free. We've got another 30 minutes and you guys can ask anything. I'm happy to respond. And yeah, let's see how it goes.
I would just
That was
I would just say encourage people to read the or look at the annual report. You can sort of flip through these slides. You can see the one or two that were shared there. It's some really impressive numbers. It's surprising it hasn't even been a full year since the launch, and just a lot of activity and sort of outpouring of response from really people all over the world, as evidenced on this call. So super excited for 25.
Yeah, thanks, man. Josh.
Here I am. What's up, guys? Awesome stuff. Amazing events. You noted on there like shadowing Web3 events. What's the strat on regen events and shadowing other uh, as far as in-person events to set up alignment with?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we're pretty open-minded about that if it aligns with our mission. And yeah, I think going into 2025, it's like any event where we have the opportunity to talk about regenerative network states or to meet other people that are interested in this stuff. Um, I think, yeah, we would be interested in exploring that. I think the key theme is for us though would be the network states piece. I think that's we've really uh, found our community within the network state space and trying to find a way to create bridges between different parts of the community, like bringing the regenerative living theme into the network state space and opening that up. Um, that has been a focus, and I think that will continue to.
Yeah, just a real quick follow-up on that. I just came back from CES in Vegas, and there was not quite as much I kind of expected to see there. But there was definitely some cool stuff, and they were all super interested in network state concepts. So there's definitely a bridge there. So yeah, I'm really trying to figure out how do we tap into these other ones and create that bridge and link them up to descend and regen. Keep up the good work.
Cheers, man. Good to see you.
I just went ahead and shared in the chat a link to one of our threads that we recently posted at the end of the year that has a link to the end of year DAO report, as well as a nice 2024 events photo album that I recommend everybody go check out. The end of year DAO report is some of the slides that you saw during our call earlier here were taken from that. And so if you're interested in learning more about what we've done in 2024, that'd be probably a really good way of going about doing it. And then, of course, ask questions if you'd like.
Gustavo, go ahead.
Thank you, Chris. That was really clarified. That was really, what to say, bringing a lot of clarity. So I'm super thankful for the presentation today. I'm super excited as well for the year ahead. I have a couple of questions. Maybe the first one is about the pods and circle structures that you mentioned. And I saw that there is a new circle coming for governance where you are putting, I remember, white paper, grant and fundraising, and not sure what is the third one, but whatever. Yeah, well, if you can first provide clarifications on what is the third one and what is the scope of that, and also what are the ways to join these pods? Are you opening like some kind of interview system? You want how to bring the right people with the right skills to the right poll?
Yeah. So at the moment, the pods are linked to the circles, and the process is the same process that everyone would go through to become a contributor. So when you become a contributor, at the end you then join a circle, and each circle has regular meetings. The governance circle is one of the most active, and looking forward into 2025, there's these key focus areas where pods are going to spin out. So to answer your question about like how those pods will be formed, they'll be decided by within the circle, and ultimately like the circle coordinators within those circles will kind of facilitate that as those pods spin up. The main goal on the governance side is to build out a white paper. That's going to be really important in terms of decentralization as we move forward into kind of this journey that we've been on for being incubated by Fifth World as we have towards becoming more decentralized and becoming more community-led. The governance circle is really crucial on that setting out that decentralization roadmap, basically. So if anyone wants to get involved in that, the first step is to apply to become a contributor, which I know you've already done, Gustavo. And then if you want to join the governance circle, you're welcome to join that. John is the coordinator of that circle, and we meet every 2 weeks for that. The process of setting up the pods is about to start. I would encourage anyone that wants to get involved in that to join one of the circles and take that forward. To answer your other question, which I think was about what is number 3, that's VPass, the VPass pod. This was a product idea that we developed last year around essentially a way to enable attendees at events to collect badges and gather credentials within the DAO, and also as a kind of, you could view it as a passport ultimately to the regenerative network state events that we put on, but ultimately in the long run, who knows what that passport could give access to. It just depends how the community evolves and what we put on. At this stage, it's about badges at online events, education experiences, gathering credentials, and really building up a profile so that we can, once we have new, like we're kind of growing quite rapidly. If that continues, we're going to get to a point where new members coming in are going to want to know, like, who are the trusted members within this community. The trusted members of the community are going to be the ones that have gathered these badges in their passport, and these are going to be the people in the DAO that have contributed over time. And VPass is a way to track that.
Nice, makes sense. And my second question is regarding your last slide. I think that you call it like, what are the products happening? Or the products with priority here in 2025. And I remember the incentive systems and DAO tooling. I'm wondering if you guys are thinking about building of course, when talking about the incentive system, it makes sense to build our own economy incentive that is scoped to what we do here at DAO, of course. But in terms of DAO tooling, are you also developing our own tooling instead of maybe using some of the bunch of DAO toolings that are out there in the market already?
That's a really good point. We don't want to reinvent the wheel, and we're not interested in just like spending loads of time developing stuff just because it's a cool digital tool. We want to use stuff that's already out there. But the DAO tooling category would encompass VPass to some extent. And VPass, some of these products that develop are likely to leverage other tools that already exist or other protocols that already exist, but perhaps bring them in to it, like the VDAO ecosystem, in a way that makes sense, that kind of makes a useful use case for that protocol, if that makes any sense. So we're not looking to reinvent the wheel. We will use other tools, but we want to employ them in a way that makes sense for our community. And part of that will also means like simplifying some of it, because we do want to open up our community in 2025 to people that are non-Web3 natives from within the kind of broader regenerative living community. And the tools that may be out there for Web3 natives, like there's a lot of tools that are great if you already know how to use Web3, but if you're new to it, it can be a little bit tricky. So I would say that's when we talk about products, that's really a key theme, simplifying the tools that already exist. Cool. Cheers, man. Kevin, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. Thank you. I was just
Yeah,
curious
man.
about like, were there any large challenges that VDAO really overcame in this last year that was unexpected, or maybe you had speculated about these things, but you were able to either recognize them or overcome them as a community, or yeah.
That's a good question. Challenges in 2024. Um, I think I'd love to hear your take on this as well, Ben, and plus anyone else in the community that wants to come forward and answer this question. I'll share my perspective on it. I think the biggest challenge in DAOs, and this still applies, I don't think we've really overcome it, but we're working on it. The biggest challenge is really engagement, is getting people engaged and interested. And I say we haven't overcome it. I think we have overcome the initial kind of stage of getting people interested and engaged. The and that I think what the way we achieved that was just through consistency, like turning up, showing up, even if there was just a few people there at virtual events. We kept showing up, we kept doing it, we kept putting on our in-person events, and just like showing up, meeting people, and hoping that our excitement and our enthusiasm and our belief in this vision would translate and people would want to get involved. And that has it's worked out because like you guys are all here today and we're kind of like at the start of this new year, and it's gonna be a big year. I genuinely believe that for VDAO would be a huge year this year. But one of the challenges of this year is going to be translating that engagement into like engagement in governance and getting more contributors involved. So it's not like I think what happens in DAOs is sometimes it's like there's a few people that are driving it, and that's fine, that's good, right? You need that, but also we need the community to start taking on and developing its voice, and that's the point we're at now. And that also relates to governance, bringing people into the governance and decision making processes within the DAO and activating the community, getting people excited about governance. That's I think that's a challenge across the whole of Web3, right? Like getting people interested in governance, but we're excited for that challenge this year. Anything you would add, Ben, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the key ones is always engagement on all fronts, right? Is such a challenge. And just getting our feet underneath us and getting going as well. We only just got started at ETH Denver last year, at the end of February last year, and been around for about 11 months now. And there's a challenge behind that, right? Of like trying to figure out what does the community really want. And that is only sometimes compounded even harder by trying to get people to initially engage with you to kind of communicate what those needs or requests might be. But I think we've done a good job in being very open and continuing to show up, like Chris has said, and starting to see a really amazing community come together. And again, such a short period of time, so it's great to see, and really looking forward to building upon that success in 2025.
Cheers, man. Olivia, did you have a question?
Hi, Ben, and hi, Chris. Thank you for the opportunity to do the paddle surf activity. In the meeting, I have Gonzalo and Mirna, and they have projects, we are from Peru, and we feel really commitment with the nature and the Amazon and these kind of things. But sometimes we don't have a space like this space, like the DAO, or like a space for share knowledge, share mindset. And also, I see an opportunity for do a, a o- for par- eh, for do a project with rainforest expedition, and I would like to propose this project to the DAO, and also I would like to invite people from, o sea, who are in regenerative or who are in different areas to collaborate to this project. And I know, and my second, this is one. My second question is about what happened with the collaboration with Lex DAO. I remember that Chris tells something about Lex DAO, and that's it. And I will put the name of the consultants here.
Yeah. Sounds good. I saw the photos that you posted from the paddleboard, and it looked amazing. It's
Yeah.
like it's like the height of winter. It's like -10 here where I am today, right? I was looking at you guys on the water and I just wish I could have made it. It looked amazing. Um, in terms of like future events in your area, we'd love to explore how we can support that. And I know you're in you come to the events circle or the in real life ecosystem circle. We can discuss that in there in more detail about like how we can take things forward in Peru. To answer your question about Lex, did you say Lex DAO, the legal DAO, yeah?
Yes, the lawyers.
Yeah, the lawyers. So that's a big priority for 2025 is figuring out the entity structure that's going to facilitate our transition and to become an fully on-chain organization. That's a big part of what we'll be focusing on within the white paper. And Kyle from LexDAO is a contributor within the DAO. So he's going to be helping out with that. But the first step is really setting up that white paper pod that I mentioned earlier, and then we'll be moving forward with support from Lex to set things up.
How can we contribute, or how can we send lawyers? Because in Peru we have this kind of Web3 lawyers interested in understand and develop, and I think if I involve my community, o sea, all these Web3 Peruvian lawyers to the project, it will be amazing. It will be great, no, for have a commitment
Yeah,
in the
for sure. If you know lawyers that want to get involved in the DAO, they can just go through the standard application process to become a contributor. They're very welcome to get involved in the DAO. As part of, if you mean more like the DAO hiring them as lawyers, that's something that the white paper pod will be thinking about as part of that process. But we're kind of like a few steps prior to actually hiring lawyers at this stage. We still need to figure out like what structure we want to have as a community, and like there's questions around decision making and governance that need to be answered first before we get into the entity formation piece. But if they want to dive in and get involved in the DAO, please invite them along because everyone's welcome.
Thank you. I don't know if Mirna and Gonzalo want to introduce to the group. Or maybe next time.
Sure.
Hello,
Now-
everyone. Hello, could you hear me?
Hi there. Yeah,
Yeah, so
we can hear
sorry, I cannot use my camera now, but I'm so happy for be part of the DAO. And yeah, I was with Livia in the activity the last Saturday with it was about paddle and yoga, and it was a good introduction to BDAO and all about sustainability projects. I'm so happy to stay here in this meeting.
Welcome. Great to meet you. Is Gonzalo? Was it Gonzalo as well?
Yes. Can you
Yeah,
guys
you're
hear me?
welcome. Yeah, we can hear you. Go
Hey
ahead.
guys, nice to meet you. Well, I'm also from Peru. I think my question is more direct, being myself part of the ecosystem for like almost 4 years. I've been part of many DAOs, seen the rise of many, been part of many. Those that tried to aim too high, maybe those that couldn't find a way to funnel a good way of their funds. So I think my question is more direct: is uh, what are the metrics you guys are looking for? Are you guys looking for impressions, engagements, amount of people doing an event? How can we push or move forward what you guys are looking to?
Yeah, good question. So, in terms of like metrics, numbers, we don't really have any North Star metric that we're aiming towards. Our main focus so far has been on events. So, in fact, let me reconsider that answer. We have like we had set out to host one large event per quarter last year, and we achieved that. So I guess in a way that was kind of a metric. So we achieved that. But we're kind of still in this early phase of raising awareness and bringing people together around these themes. And I think that question that you raised is really the question that we're looking to answer in this quarter of 2021, is like, how do we take this to the next level? And I think the white paper is gonna be crucial there, because part of decentralization is going to involve answering some of those hard questions about like, how does the DAO sustain itself? And as you say, it sounds like you've been around for a while. You've probably seen like DAOs succeed and fail, and we can learn from that. Like, there's a lot of experiments out there that we can look to see like what worked, what didn't work. But at the same time, find a balance between creating the space for the community to form and for relationships to form, but also achieving a sustainable DAO at the same time. I think that would be the ultimate goal here. Does that answer your question?
Oh, yes. It allows me to see what is the current state of things. So I think, in my opinion, of course, that's just only my opinion, the thing would be like to focus on awareness, getting more people. So I think one way, because every event is like using funds. And I think one of the things that usually work is when organizations or companies, or in this case DAOs, do events, is always to have a tangible metric, like people that registered, maybe with the POAPs, or maybe like their EVM addresses for something. And that's a good way to do that. And also like being the top of the funnel, then usually is like those people that registered, like how many of those, what percentage of those like attend this, like the community, the town halls, and then with that start like seeing who is the type of users, type of members that can help the DAO like doing connections. I think regarding refi, the most important aspect is connecting probably with companies, programs, or people doing already projects that are working on, and the idea is to connect people, and that way one can find some kind of you could say, monetization, some kind of vertical and because usually the DAO end up the successful ones end up being like this really big hub for organized people with an objective, with some funds that ended up being like this governance token, and being able to pay those members that are truly aligned with the members and are like even maybe not all of their time, but really a substantial part of their time. So the DAO can start becoming like this uh, organization. In the end, if you don't find some kind of you could say like a vertical to find some kind of a business, you don't have to be like for profit, but still, it would be like really hard to incentivize new members, to incentive to fund uh, events and such. But I think you guys are on the right track. So I just wanted to know where you guys at, so maybe we can come up with the guys here in Peru, because Latam is really rich regarding a lot of people doing things on the rainforest, on the Andeans. Like I think more than Libya, who's the other organizer who is here, made this like an intro. But maybe we can start like, I don't know, like I have like my girlfriend is on fashion, and we know people from the alpaca industry. Like we can start doing events, going to those communities that provide alpaca. Like we can do some types like that. Everyone here in Latam knows someone who is part of those kind of things, or producers of cacao or whatever. Like we can start doing something that's are aligned with the DAO.
So it's great to meet you, man. I'd love to explore some of these ideas in more detail. And in terms of like the core sentiment that you're raising here around like sustainability within the DAO from a financial standpoint, that's something that we're going to be thinking a lot about as part of the white paper, and thinking about decentralization, building a decentralized treasury, and how we manage that. That's going to be a key theme going forward in 2025. For the people that are really interested in that, I think the governance circle is going to become a hub for a lot of those conversations. And then there will be these key work streams that are spinning out of that, like the white paper, pod, and also VPass as well. So yeah, if you want to get more involved, I think first step is doing that application form, which is linked in the Discord. But also, I'd love to chat with you, Gonzalo, I think, and share some ideas. I'm conscious of time, Shannon. I know you've been waiting really patiently for ages with your hand up, so I want to give space for you to ask the question that you have.
Hey, how's it going? Apologize for my camera. It keeps glitching out, but I'll say hi real quick. Just had a really quick question. First of all, thanks to Ben for the invite. I'm one of the low tech folks that's coming in from the IRL side and looking to align with the VDAO community. I see a lot of commonalities with the cause that I've been working towards for closed loop infrastructure and retail accessibility for food and a whole lot of different things that I can see a lot of alignment with the VDAO. When I was looking at the structures that you were putting up about the RWA and the governance pods, I had a question about is there flexibility about creating new pods or kind of creating spaces for maybe if the conversation doesn't necessarily fit in to the boxes that have been created?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the ultimate vision for the DAO is that as we decentralize it, anyone can spin up a pod. That's the goal. So and the pods don't necessarily need to be linked to a circle. So eventually, once we and I don't I don't want to say like this is set in stone, because this needs to be figured out as part of the kind of white paper pod process. So I don't want to second guess their work. But my current thinking on it is that if we have a decentralized treasury and we have a community that's governing that treasury, there can be proposals made to form pods to achieve certain objectives, and that can be managed in a decentralized way. So it would be up to the community to decide based on collective decision making, what pods are appropriate to be funded and so on. That's like the ultimate vision for, I think that applies to DAOs in general, like that within a DAO you can apply to a treasury with a proposal and the community gets to decide whether or not that is something that they want to support and fund. But what I would say is like if even now when we're in this kind of early phase, if there's an area of interest that you want to spin something up, like a pod, I would say like let's have a conversation about that, and if it makes sense, like go for it. There have been people in the DAO that have done that already. Like we had at the start, we had a group that were interested in food systems actually, which is kind of sounds similar to your area of interest, and they planned to meet and stuff, but it kind of like petered out a bit. But there is scope if you want to. I mean, if you wanted to start that back up, there's scope to do that, or if you want to do your own thing, we can have a conversation with that or about that, or you can chat to Ben. You can see what's possible.
Fantastic. Thanks, Chris. And then quick follow-up question regarding the governance and the white paper that's being developed. I've been in this cause for about a decade. I run a public benefit company and a nonprofit organization. And I guess my question is there capacity being built in, or are you guys having the conversation about alignment and collaboration with entities and organizations versus everything being folded into the DAO, or how's the conversation kind of trending towards as far as that whole structure and function works?
Do you mean in terms of the entity structure for the DAO itself, or other entities that are out there already?
Just as far as collaboration with groups, entities, and ideas and collaborations outside the DAO. If as an example, if I'm a member of the DAO, but then I've also got these things going on that aren't necessarily appropriate to be in that structure, like the nonprofit is a perfect example. That can't really be owned and controlled by a distributed group of people, unless it's formed as kind of advisory board or something like that. Like we'd have to kind of figure out how these things link together in new ways, and this is all new territory for me too.
Mm-hmm. So I would say, like in terms of just collaboration, we would collaborate with lots of different organizations, and I don't think there would be any legal reasons that we couldn't collaborate, as far as I know. Although, as I say, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say for sure. But based on experience, there's lots of DAOs collaborating with like NGOs and stuff out there. But when it comes to our entity structure for VDAO itself as part of the decentralization roadmap, that still needs to be determined, like how we approach that. And the governance circle is actively working on that, and the white paper pod will be diving even deeper. And we've already had some tentative discussions with lawyers about like what that might look like, and there's various different options around. We had someone in Sam from the traditional Dream Factory, right, Ben, and he spoke a bit about how their DAO registered as an entity in Switzerland. They also have a token going on and stuff within their community that they use for voting and stuff. So there are other DAOs and projects out there that have already been down this path, and there's a lot that we can learn from that. And there's lawyers that are specialized in those fields, particularly Lex DAO, who Olivia mentioned earlier. That's basically a DAO full of lawyers. So they've got a lot of experience in this, and we'll be relying on their input to kind of answer these questions as we develop this white paper.
Cool. Thanks for your feedback, Chris.
No worries. Good to meet you. Cool. So I'm conscious we've run over time, so I just want to like wrap things up. But thanks a lot, everyone, for joining. Ben, is there any questions in the chat just before we wrap that I've missed, or anything that you want to add?
No, I'm not seeing any questions. Rachel says that she's looking forward to connecting with the team. Kind of a newbie to Web3, but getting a stronger interest in DAOs and more so in VDAO. In terms of anything to add, we got some virtual events that are going to be coming up next week. We'll be doing a P2P learning session with Andre Berlin, learning how to bring URL communities, online communities into the real space and start kind of building the foundations of hubs and doing so through like the community meetups specifically. So I recommend checking that out. That's going to be on the 21st. It's like 12 a.m. UTC. So it's like 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then talking about lawyers and stuff got me thinking about a future event that we've got coming up mid-Feb. We're going to be joined with somebody who's got a legal background to discuss Web3 legal structures around DAOs and such. So that'll be another good one to keep an eye out for. We'll be announcing that one shortly, probably next week or early next week. We'll be releasing more details about that. So, but yeah, great to see everybody here.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Cool, guys.
Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Have a good rest of the week. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.